Whoops. Got that big sign in front of me now.
Welcome back, everyone. Elle Ingalls here with Pressure Free Living and the Leadership Series. This Leadership Series is giving you some really amazing content. Every speaker that's been on here has just dropped some really golden nuggets for you. And I have a really special guest here today. He's my distant cousin.
Yeah.
And I just have to share how I found him because I am a McLellan. My grandmother was a McLellan, and we have a lot of interesting family history. So one holiday season, I just felt this need to connect to a McLellan, to be honest. So I just went on Facebook and typed in McLellan, and
Oh,
up popped this lovely human being, and
yeah.
we have collaborated together. We've done things
Yes.
together. And a few years ago, I was bringing my son out for college visits, and we stopped in New York, and we were together. And that was a
Yeah.
magical evening. And
Yeah.
you and your wife Sandra made the most incredible breakfast I will never forget. So,
Yeah.
Bruce, thank you for being here. And I want you to, well, you know what you're going to do. I'm just going to give you the floor and you can take it away.
Thanks so much, Al, and my cousin, my dear cousin. It's interesting how that all weaves together and people meet and become lifelong friends and collaborate and do all sorts of things. And from my point of view, we're going to be doing this for a long time. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. So I kind of wanted to lay the groundwork of what I'm going to talk about today for the listeners. I'm going to talk about focusing on why do I do this? Why does Bruce McLellan do this? And what is it that I exactly do, right? And how does that work? So I'll actually get into this little sign above here that my dear sister made for me called No Love Lead, which is my coaching process that I use with people and with leaders of all different types. So just a little bit of an introduction about who I am. I'm Bruce Wayne McLellan. That's right, you heard it correctly, Bruce Wayne. I get a lot of teasing about the Batman and the Batmobile and that sort of thing. But on a more serious note, I've been coaching for 20 years, and I'll be turning 70 in February, and I'm just getting started. I'm so passionate about this. And the reason I'm passionate about this is because of my why. My why is the reason I get out of bed every morning. It's my one good reason. It's my higher purpose, my burning aspiration, which is to make a better world for our great-grandchildren. And that literally gets me to bounce out of bed every day. So why is he here? Because I want something different for my future generations, all of our future generations, not just for mine, but for all of ours. And that motivates me a great deal. So to tell you a little bit more about myself, I've been doing this 20 years, as I mentioned before, but I also have 6 podcasts. The most significant one for you is the One Kind Word podcast, which is an interview with folks regarding kindness, and you'll see how that fits into the whole picture in just a few minutes. And its sister program, which is the One Kind Moment, which is now in 3 languages, English, Mandarin, and Spanish. It will be launching in Arabic this fall and next spring in Swahili. And we are currently in 80 plus countries worldwide. So we're pretty easy to find.
It's amazing, Bruce.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let me take you on a little bit of a journey. One of the things I've learned is that my ancestors, the ancestors of my ancestors, actually came across a land bridge between Russia, Siberia, and Alaska. And it was called Beringia. This is tens of thousands of years ago. And with them, they brought their children on their back and their food and their tents and their living supplies and their tools, but in their heart, they carried their culture. And the way that they carried their culture is in the form of stories. And this is one of their stories. Now, I don't know if you know this, Al, but I'm actually 21% Abenaki Native American. So these stories are personal for me. This one is called Dog and Wolf. And this is a story that was told around the sacred fires of the Abenaki for millennia. And now I'm going to tell it to you. It's still a relevant story. There was once a wolf. This was no ordinary wolf. This one was the keeper of the sacred rituals of all the tribes. Once every year, Wolf would come into the human village to visit his cousin Dog. Now you have to understand that Wolf had a very long and hard winter, so his ribs showed through because of lack of food, and his fur became matted and mangy, and his fragrance was rather wild and untamed. But his cousin Dog didn't care. They wagged their tails as they met again for the first time in a year and began to snap and snarl the way that puppies do when they're beginning to hunt. So they played all day long, enjoying each other's company. And as the darkness started to fall, Wolf realized in a moment that it was Dog's time to learn about the moon. So he decided he would share his hauntingly beautiful song. And he lifted his long black snout and, oh, it echoed through the night air. Dog was startled. Please stop. My human parents will not approve. They do not allow howling. Wolf didn't seem to notice how upset Dog was. And in a few minutes, he leaned his long black snout back once again. Ooh. And this time, something stirred inside of Dog, something that reminded him of his parents' and his grandparents' stories of the old dogs. He snapped himself out of that dream and again begged and pleaded with Wolf. Please, please do not howl. My human parents will be so upset with me. So for a little while, Wolf was content. He was content to just enjoy the night air and the sounds of crickets and katydids and tree frogs and night owls. And then, as starfields rolled overhead, Wolf leaned his tawny head back again. Oh, this time, Dog was filled with an irresistible urge to join in. And they howled together all night long until morning songbirds herald a new day for dogs everywhere. For days and weeks, they continued to play. During the daytime and at nighttime, they howled at the moon until the moon was no more. It was the new moon again, so everything was very dark. This was a sign for Wolf to return to his forest. And you can picture Dog. He's kind of related to the modern day golden shepherd, kind of bouncing along very happily beside Wolf. And he's wagging his tail and he's trying to start a conversation with Wolf. And Wolf is not much of a conversationalist. So the dog had to handle it. Wolf, stay here with me. My human parents will take good care of you. They'll feed you and give you water every single day, and they'll brush you clean and shampoo you. You will smell wonderful again. With all of Dog's pleading, Wolf was silent, but eventually he declined Dog's generous offer. So they continued on in silence towards the forest until the dog could go no further. And at first, Dog was very confused. He did not understand what was keeping him from joining Wolf until he looked down and noticed his long golden chain. This is a story that has been passed down from millennia, and today it's still true. And it's really about recognizing that what holds us back is invisible to us. If you look at the story, the dog really didn't notice the chain until the very, very end. And for us, it's the same way. We don't know what holds us back. So what I do is help people see what holds them back and to focus on the right things. Now, as a leader, That's very important, and it's also very confusing because we think what we need to do is learn the to-do list of a leader. And that's not quite the perspective that I come from. I believe that leadership is an inside job. That is that we're all potentially the leader of at least one person. Who could it be? It's me. It's me, Elle. And for you, it's you. And an essential element for leading others is leading ourselves first. So how do you do that? This is the how part. My process, which is above me, I have this beautiful sign, as I said before, was made by my sister Judy Cronin up in Maine, is the process that I've been working on over the last 20 years, and there will be at least 3 books coming out about these. Know is essentially about self-awareness. Who am I? And not just any who, your best self, what I call your inner hero, because you are the hero of your life story. Not me, not Elle, you are. And along with that, it is really a very magical thing that happens when we know ourselves better. It's actually easier to know others better, which as a leader is an essential element. Who am I? And who are you? Who are we together? That takes us to love, because that's us together. And love is a concept that initially started for me from understanding that in recovery programs, there's a concept called 100 forms of fear. And it's the idea that fear shows up in so many different ways, everything from anger to depression. But the opposite of that is 100 forms of love. And that's what I choose to focus on, because what you focus on really matters. And because of my focus on that, I accidentally ran into some research that I think is very significant for any human being, and especially leaders. And that is Harvard's 75-year study on human happiness. And I don't know if you caught the first part of that, 75 years, which implies there's 4 generations of researchers, okay? So this is one of the longest studies that's ever been done on a very important topic. What makes human beings happy? And what was determined without any hesitation or lack of clarity is that it's about connection. Human connection is the most important thing. And when I understood that, it changed my view of my entire world, because prior to that understanding, I was focusing on the wrong things. And of course, focusing on the right things is very important. And it's about connection. So in our world, we believe that happiness in our society, we believe that happiness comes from wealth and power. Okay. And the research shows that that's absolutely not true. It takes very little wealth and very little power in our lives to achieve a stable state of happiness. But to have lifelong happiness and well-being, it's really about connection. So picture a society, for example, on this planet, where we're focusing on the wrong things. We're focusing on wealth and power as a way to achieve happiness. What does that look like? It looks very busy. It looks like people are working really hard. It looks like people are prioritizing things over people, doing over being. So the flip of that is a focus on our connection with others, and how we connect to others is essential. And it actually changes how we treat each person we come in contact to and how we make decisions. It's a very important thing. Ultimately, if I could say one thing about love, the word is acceptance. Acceptance of ourselves, specifically that inner hero I talked about. Not just saying, oh, I recognize that inner hero, but really giving it permission to take the wheel of our lives and start driving it. Accepting others. And the most difficult for people is accepting life on life's terms, because life is not always very friendly. And that's true in business as well. So the final piece of this is the lead piece. And that is really understanding the question, or asking the question, how far can I go? How far can this inner hero take me as a leader? And the answer is actually pretty simple, and I think Elle is very familiar with this, which is that we as human beings have limitless potential. And that's not even an exaggeration at all. I used to think, oh, that's kind of an exaggeration, right? But if you actually look at the potentialities of human beings, they are literally limitless. Let me explain. Most people think of potential as being high or low, right? I've got my high potential or low potential. So some days I'm really high and sometimes I'm not so high. I don't like models that are limiting, and that, to me, that model really limits us because it's two-dimensional, and human beings are at least three-dimensional. So instead, I use a three-dimensional sphere. And if you can visualize this with me, at the center is you. That's the point at the center. And each little arrow that comes out in every single direction is one of your potentialities. So one of them might be mathematics, okay? And another one might be emotional intelligence. And another one might be imagination. So I think it's very important to understand that each one of those potentialities expands the bubble of our potential. And if you just think about one of those, imagination is limitless. Albert Einstein, who is probably considered one of the most greatest geniuses of all time, understood that imagination was far more important than logic and intellect. So the lead part is essentially, okay, how do I get there? How do I achieve my potential? And a lot of coaches start with that without answering the question, why would I want to do that? And okay, so if that's my reason for living, my reason for working, my reason for being a leader, my reason for having an organization, and I accept that, now I can master it. So it's really, essentially, lead is about self-mastery, which said another way is lifelong learning. It's not the destination, it's the journey. It's the whole idea that reaching our limitless potential is a job for us as an individual every day. And that's how we expand our own personal leadership, through finding out, who am I? Can I accept who I am and live that fully, and then completely engaging every action and thought and feeling and idea that I have in that direction. So to actually help that, during the no section, we call something called an inner compass, which helps us make decisions. Most of us just have this spinning reel, and we have a decision that comes up, and Amazon comes up, we go, oh, I want that, boom. And I go with that direction, right? That's kind of how we make decisions in our life, more or less impulsively. When we have a really clear compass about making decisions, it changes everything. And then we just have to have the courage, which is part of the love picture here, and the mastery, the willpower to actually deliver that. So that inward compass is made of 3 elements. It's made up of something I call the authentic mirror, which is something that I created because, Elle, I have a confession. You can't look in the mirror and see your inner hero. You can't do it. So we actually have to create something for that. And the next we look at is our core values. Now, one of the things I've discovered is that everyone has core values and they know about them, but they haven't taken the time to prioritize them and really define them and use them as part of their decision-making process every single day. And then finally, our higher purpose, which I mentioned before. Actually, at the beginning, I mentioned my higher purpose, which is to make a better world for our great-grandchildren. When we have that, it provides the passion and the focus that we need to overcome the obstacles that hold us back. Remember the dog? That actually helps us. So the love part, as I mentioned, has several different components as well. The 3 C's, which are courage, because courage is the only known antidote to fear. And it's also part of love. If you think about it, cœur is a French word which means heart. So courage is a love word. And if I really embrace that it takes a lot of courage to change and have the discipline to do that work. The second C is confidence, which is not confidence in all of me, but confidence in my inner hero. And the third is compassion for myself and others. And of course, that's about connection with myself, connection with the people around me, and connection with the greater world. And then the mastery piece here really is focused on the promise of who you are, the 3 Ps, the promise of who I could become. The preparation, which Elle, as a musician, you know about that. The old musician's joke, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, 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 right? So that's the preparation part. And then the third part is your performance and really maximizing that. So that's how that all fits together to help us to really master our inner hero. And as I was hinting at, this is a work in progress. Every day you get a little bit better. Every day you have a little different perspective and insight on, for example, why one of my core values is important. Give you a perfect example as I'm closing here. My number one value is well-being. And that is important to me because I can't perform at my best utilizing my inner hero if I'm not my best in my well-being. So I make a lot of decisions about that, including making sure I get plenty of sleep, making sure that I meditate every day, making sure I'm getting exercise and I'm eating good foods and all that sort of thing so that I can, as I'm coming into my 70th year, launch even more into the world. I have more potential. I have so much more to see. So kind of to conclude the whole thing, I'm here because I want something better for our future generations. What I do is help people focus on the right things and remove the obstacles that keep them from doing that. And how we do that is simple. Know, love, lead.
Oh,
Thanks
great.
for having me.
I'm going to come out just for a moment here and because I was just working with a client and something that I share with my clients when I'm working with them is that what's in my faith foundation for them is a judgment-free zone and unconditional love. Our society today is so full of conditional love.
That is correct.
And when you have someone that you know is there for you no matter what is happening, no matter what is going on, it can be so powerful, and it's something that's really missing. And when you can start to feel that for yourself too.
Yes.
That
Huge.
unconditional love for yourself. And there's also like the paradigm, some people feel like love is a pie. If I give this person so much love,
right,
then I don't have it for these people.
That's correct. Yeah.
And so it's like that's a concept that is acculturated in families. And it's so beautiful to kind of smooth that out and let people understand that connection is limitless. Like you were saying, the limitless factor is it's just opening people's eyes to what is limitless. I had a 17-year-old, and he goes, and the movie Limitless had just come out, and he came into my office and he goes, "Oh, Mrs. Ingalls, you've taught me to be limitless, but I don't need a pill."
I love it. Love it. That's great. I love your concept here of the unconditional part. It's a very important part of the love part because that's the ultimate part of connection. So I have 2 pieces that I use with that, if I can share those real quick. Yeah. One is that I tell people that I work with, if you look in the dictionary under the word non-judgmental, you're going to see this face. And the second thing I tell them is, you want to surround yourself with people who are either right here, which is unconditional love, which I call your tribe. And these are the people that are around you. Whereas, you've heard the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a tribe to reach our limitless potential.
Yeah.
We need that kind of support. And I know that from personal experience. I have a tribe, and you're part of that tribe, Al, is that without that support, nothing happens. I am not an island. And that's one of the myths of modern times, is that my independence, I do it myself and all that sort of thing. That's not true. Mm-hmm. We do nothing without others. It's really about we, not about me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I need to share that when William and I were traveling across from Michigan to New York, Connecticut, all over the place there, I reached out to you, Bruce, and I said, we'll be coming through Rochester about 2 a.m. and only if you're willing and want, we could stop actually see you. I mean, you could stay at a hotel anywhere along I-90, right?
Right.
And I mean, what an imposition to ask someone to, open their house up at 2 a.m. And sure enough, I think it was about, and on the way I said, I think it's gonna be about 2:20 as I tracking where we are. And when we drove up your street and you were on the sidewalk with your arms raised, getting up in the middle of the night to greet us, William and I will never forget it. We will never forget it, because most people are so siloed and can't be bothered, and you and your family were so warm, and you brought us in. And I mean, we were only there a few hours. I came on your morning meditation with you.
Yeah, that's right.
We were only there a few hours, and some people think you need to have a lot of time. No, you don't.
No.
That was so magical and unforgettable. And I just want to thank you for it, because it's something that is always going to be in my heart, and to reconnect to Maine, to our family's history, to Sandra's family history. It was just a beautiful thing. And yeah, I think a big takeaway here is I'm just focusing in on that love piece, because I don't think anyone's brought that really forward in any of the speaking that I've done so far with people. And
I'm glad you said that, because I did leave out one part, which is, if you see there's 3 pieces here, the love is the jelly of the sandwich. Right in the middle, it sticks everything together.
So good.
It's the sweet stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up, although you and I for hours, and we will coach for hours. So,
yes, that's true.
So how can people stay in touch with you, Bruce?
Well, I'm going to share my screen here, and if you have your phone, you can probably see this. Whoops. It went to the wrong side. Hold on a second. There we go. Now you should be able to see that okay. And you can either use the QR code, and I'll leave it up there just for a few seconds, so you can type in Bruce Wayne McLellan. The Bruce Wayne is not difficult to spell, but the McLellan, McLellan.com. There's a space on there that tells you all about the work that I do with people, and there's an opportunity for a free discovery session with me to find out if working with me is a good fit, or if you just want to have a wonderful conversation. I will have my arms open.
Yes, you will.
Yes, I will. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and shut that down now. Thanks so much, Al, for having me today. This is such an honor, and that is a moment that I remember. I remember it differently, because you did the heavy lifting. You guys drove across country in the middle of the night. All I had to do is stand there and hold my arms out. But you're right. When you make connection the priority in your life, everything changes.
Yeah.
I can certainly remember a time in my life where I would have, basically kind of walked out to the curb and maybe helped you come in the house, because my focus was on making sure I get enough sleep for my job, because the job was the most important thing in the world and not my connection with others.
Right.
but that time,
you could have denied us staying over. You
yeah,
could have said, sorry, that's too much of an imposition.
yeah, yeah,
And
and a lot of people would do that, and I have compassion for that because it is a confusion about what is important. So once
yeah,
again, let's focus on the right things.
yeah, I do have compassion for that also. And also on the other side, a lot of people would never even reach out to see if it was possible, to see if
That's
the
correct.
connection was possible. And it's
That's correct.
something I just started doing like 5 years ago or so, maybe before then. When I go to a city, if I see that someone is within like an hour's distance, if
Mhm.
if my timing is right. I was recently in a city I didn't have time to do that, and I would have. I was like, can we grab coffee? Can we have lunch? And not necessarily stay over, but have that connection. And I've connected with some people, and I just want to share one because I think it connects
Yeah.
so much. um, a friend of mine, I was out in Utah at Salt Lake City at a convention, and the Symphony Hall is right next to it. Marisa Bravanel Symphony Hall. He was one of my teachers in a conducting
Oh,
seminar
wow.
once. So I have fond memories of Marisa Bravanel. And then I remembered that one of my college friends was the orchestra personnel manager there. And I'm like, I wonder what the chances are that he's actually working. It was like, it would have been kind of like after, or not the normal hours that symphony would be, he would be there. But I just stopped by. I asked the security guard, I go, just wondering, is Eric Johnson there? And he goes, yeah, he's in his office. I go, will you just tell him that a friend from college is stopping by? And Eric, I mean, it was like we hadn't seen each other in 30 years. It was like yesterday. We just,
Oh,
we talk, and then he had to
oh,
go, I had to go, but we just had this beautiful conversation. And and a few months later, he passed away.
oh my Lord.
And one of my dear
Wow.
friends who I was in college with, she was actually with him for the last weeks of his life.
Wow.
Um, and I mean, I had no idea he was ill. It was like we were
Right.
just back in college. I am so grateful that I did that. Do you know what I mean? Like
Oh, yeah.
it's just incredible. You don't know.
No.
And so I encourage people to make connection. If that's the big takeaway you take away here,
Yeah.
is to make time for connection. Where Bruce and I are from originally, like people, you just stop by.
That's right. You don't call ahead, you just stop by.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just stop by, and if they're there, great. If they're not, it's okay. You stay for 20 minutes, just stay for an hour. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But stop by is what we always did, and I do that here. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy, but I
Well,
do.
that's great. Well, at some point, I'm going to stop by with my Airstream and visit. Not sure when that's going to be, but that's on my bucket list. So,
Ooh, we can show you a beautiful place to be in Michigan for sure with your air.
yay! Sounds great.
All right. Well, thank
All
you
right.
so much, Bruce, and
Big hugs to you and your family.
big hugs indeed. Big hugs to you watching this,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so glad that Bruce could share with you. And stay tuned for. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to. This is our going to be our last one of the series.
Oh, okay.
I want to finish with you. So
Oh,
I'm just going to say thank you so much for watching this series, for joining in with us. I am always here for you, as are all these other speakers. All of their links are on here. Bruce is on here. Reach out, stay in touch. You could take away so much from what we've done here, but each one of these people has so much to give to make this world a better place. And as Bruce was saying, so much of a better world for our great grandchildren. So on that, thank you so much, and we will close out.